All right, I want to read something that just makes your blood boil this morning. 6 Gitmo detainees transferred to Uruguay. Now, this happened a couple days ago, but let me let you know what has happened since. 6 men long detained at Guantanamo Bay, 4 Syrians, 1 Tunisian, and 1 Palestinian, were transferred this morning to Uruguay in a deal forged by the White House to reduce the inmate population at the controversial prison which President Obama has promised to close.
What? Are you serious? No.
Little soundbite there from the pastor. The New York Times says the move represents the largest single group of inmates to depart the wartime prison in Cuba since 2009, and the first of the detainees to be resettled in South America. South America, we're getting awful close to home. And also you want to consider the problem that we're having with our borders in Mexico. So is South America a very good idea? No, I would not think so. I definitely would not think so. The U.S. government announced the release of the 6 who have been held at Guantanamo Bay for the past 12 years. 12 years at that. The Pentagon said it transferred custody of the 3 other Pakistani detainees held in Afghanistan to Islamabad. This followed consultations between the United States and Pakistan, and after receiving appropriate assurances. Now remember the appropriate assurances that we received from Pakistan that Osama bin Laden was not there. Remember those appropriate assurances? Okay. Followed consultations between the United States and Pakistan, and after receiving appropriate assurance, the headquarters of the U.S. forces in Afghanistan said in a statement, the government of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan was not involved in the transfer. Pakistani Taliban chief was one of the 3, sources said. The Associated Press says all were detained as suspected militants with ties to Al-Qaeda in 2002, but were never charged. They had been cleared for release since 2009, but could not be sent home, and the U.S. struggled to find countries willing to take them. Well, that's a problem. If the countries were unwilling to take them, then that was probably a problem, right? If nobody else wants them, then why do we want to send them?
Obamacare. What? Are you serious? No.
Pastor's chiming in again with his recommendations. No, let's not do it. Reuters adds, differences over the pace of such transfers, said one U.S. official, added to friction between the Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel and Obama's inner circle, culminating in Hagel's resignation last month, which you remember Vice President Joe Biden was extremely upset over. Okay? The release of the 6 was put off again in August when Uruguay became concerned about domestic political risk in the run-up to its October presidential election. Well, it's bad for politics. But outgoing President Jose Mujica then pressed ahead with the transfer. According to the Times, the transfer included Abu Wahid Dihab, a 43-year-old Syrian who has been on a prolonged hunger strike to protest his indefinite detention without trial, and who has brought a high-profile lawsuit to challenge the military's procedures for force-feeding him. His release may moot most of that case, although a dispute over whether videotapes of the procedure must be disclosed to the public is expected to continue. What foolishness. The transfer was also notable because the deal has been publicly known since it was finalized last spring. Significantly, however, bureaucratic delays by Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel in signing off on the arrangement had placed it in jeopardy. Mr. Hagel's slow pace this year in approving proposed transfers of low-level detainees contributed to large tensions with the White House before his resignation under pressure last month. Well, Chuck Hagel didn't think it was a good idea then, did he? The AP says that the U.S. has transferred 19 prisoners from Guantanamo this year, all but 2 of them within the past month. With the release of this 6 today, the prison still holds some 136 detainees, according to the AP, while the Times says the number is 137. So, is somebody missing among the bunch? Well, that was a couple days ago. Now, guess what's happening in Uruguay? Uruguay says the resettled Guantanamo men can leave whenever they want. Really? This is in NBC News. Outgoing Uruguayan president, outgoing, mind you, Jose, now I don't know how to say his name, so I'm sorry, but it's like Mujuquia, was made clear that Uruguay would not hold or restrict the 6 Guantanamo detainees who were recently resettled in his country. The first day that they want to leave, they can leave, he said in a Spanish-language interview in the state television TNU. The release of 4 Syrians, a Tunisian, and a Palestinian on Saturday represented the largest single group to leave Guantanamo since 2009. In the interview with the president, the former leftist guerrilla, who was jailed during Uruguay's 1973 to 1985 military dictatorship, that's his background, said Guantanamo was not a jail, it's a kidnapping den, adding that a jail suggests a minimum of jurisdiction. Who made this consultation with Uruguay, talking to a man like this, who calls our decisions a kidnapping den? Who did this decision? No wonder Chuck Hagel wouldn't sign off on it. This is ridiculous. A U.S. official said Uruguay agreed to security arrangements and that the 6 would be free men, though declined to say whether they would be allowed to travel abroad. Well, what do you think's going to happen? Uruguay's president-elect, Tabre Vasquez, who takes office on March 1st, said he also supports hosting the men as a humanitarian gesture. Well, we've heard a lot about humanitarian, haven't we? The Uruguayan newspaper reported and published a letter of one of the Syrian detainees, Omar Muhad Farah, sent through his attorney, thanking Uruguay for engaging in a noble act of solidarity. Well, bless his heart. If it weren't for Uruguay, I would still be in that black hole in Cuba, the letter says. We will only bring good faith and positive contributions to Uruguay while we learn Spanish and we remake our lives here. Well, bless their hearts. We have 6 detainees who weren't detained for no reason. They were detained because they were suspected of being terrorists and militant. And did you know that there's a militant rehab that we send these people to? A militant rehab. Now, who's paying for that? Is that my tax dollars? Because I tell you, I work hard for my tax dollars. And every time I look, there's a little bit more taken out of my paycheck. So is my tax dollars going to rehab these terrorists that ended up in Guantanamo Bay, that decided to do hunger strikes and is talking about what a black hole that is and how inhumane United States is? And then you have Uruguay that we did a deal with calling us a den of kidnappers? What is going on here? I don't know. We'll talk about it later today in the show. See you then. God bless.